This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole, but the real star of today's show is the new Fanatec CSL wheelbase for the PS4 and the PC. This comes shortly after the release of the CSL wheelbase for the Xbox One, which is also PC compatible, but thanks to Microsoft and Sony, each have to have their own version of the wheel. Now, this wheel is only currently available in Europe and in Australia, but it is very likely to also be available in the United States and elsewhere. Soon enough, we can all cross our fingers. Now, the CSL wheelbase with the wheel rim goes for €499.95 and comes with a wheel rim built for the PlayStation. The wheel is officially licensed by Sony and will work with current PS4 titles like Project Cars 2, F1 2017, and the full-blown version of Gran Turismo. And with the purchase of a Fanatec Xbox One compatible wheel rim, it can also be made Xbox One compatible. Now, the wheelbase is also backward compatible and will work with older titles, but perhaps without the same menu compatibility. There will also be a starter package available that will include a set of CSL Elite pedals with the wheel, and that's going to go for €519.95, which is a huge savings. Now, the CSL wheelbase will come in one of those typical Fanatec over-the-top boxings with those inspirational box flaps as you open it. In this case, it's a rising heartbeat. 150, 160, 170, 180, go, go, go! And included inside of that very cool packaging along with the wheelbase is a table clamp, a power supply and its cables, a USB cable, and an instruction manual. But it also comes with that Easter egg surprise or teaser from Fanatec of those extra buttons. These buttons can be used to replace the existing buttons on the wheel rim with ones that are labeled more appropriately to racing than the PlayStation ones. It also comes with a set of covers to upgrade your other Fanatec wheel rims if used on the PS4. In addition to that, an extra O-ring for the main shaft, some washers for the static paddle shifters, and within a white cover, the PS4 specific wheel rim, along with the lockdown bolt for the wheel and even the Allen wrench needed to attach it. Upon closer inspection, we can immediately see some of the similarities between this wheelbase and its Xbox One counterpart. However, there are some differences both on the visual side and, more importantly, inside of this wheel that makes it a completely different wheelbase. So let's take a look at the wheelbase. The casing or exterior of the CSL is made mostly of black plastic with different textures and a couple of spots with a secondary color to give it some style. The front of the base has what looks like a brushed metal texture on it. I actually thought it was real metal at first, but it has this instead of the modern art looking plastic front of the Xbox One base. On the front, there's a Fanatec logo on the left with raised letters in white, something we haven't seen from Fanatec before. And on the right hand side of the face, we have a power LED, a power button, and a mode button, along with a stylish blue CSL Elite logo, again in those raised letters. Towards the center of the face, there are 4 mounting holes for the static paddle shifters, and then the very familiar center hub of the Fanatec wheelbases that spins on very large ball bearings. At the top front of the base, in a gray section, are the 9 LEDs for the RPM display of the CSL base. The sides of the base, also in black, have a textured pattern to them that slightly resembles carbon fiber, with a seam down the middle of where the top and bottom pieces go together. The top portion of the base is black and gray, and it has vents on the top of both sides of the wheel that go down the bulging top that almost resembles a car hood. The back side of the CSL Elite base has a large single vent, and then towards the bottom is its wire management center, where you can plug in the power cord, the USB to the PC or the PS4, Fanatec pedals, Fanatec shifters, and even a Fanatec handbrake. The bottom side of the base has the Fanatec product sticker on it, the feet that hold it onto the desk mount flush, the Fanatec triangle bolting pattern, and a spot for the desk mount clamp and its center bolt. It's a good-looking wheelbase, and despite being plastic, has an upper-end look to it. The overall dimensions are identical to the Xbox CSL, coming in at 11 inches or 280 millimeters wide, 8 inches or 205 millimeters front to back, and then 7 inches or 178 millimeters tall. The wheel rim that comes with the base is purpose-built for the PS4 and measures in at a realistic 11.8 inches or 300 millimeters wide. The center tri-spoke is real brushed metal and has a very nice finish to it with a Fanatec logo proudly on the center. On the left spoke, you will find 4 PS4 marked buttons surrounding the Fanatec tuning menu joystick. On the inside right, there are 3 more PS4 marked buttons going up and down, and then to the right of them, the main 4 PS4 buttons of triangle, circle, X, and box in the normal diamond shape of a controller. Then the back covering of the wheel's hub is a fiber reinforced plastic that works its way to the Fanatec mounting system. This wheel rim uses a non-quick release mount when compared to other Club Sport wheel rims. The paddle shifters are made of metal and are rounded to match the shape of the wheel. They are nearly 5 inches or 127 millimeters long. The paddle shifter's movement has been redesigned using snap dome technology. The rim itself is a very nice looking wheel that has a bold blue stitching on the leather and suede combination covering. It has a soft suede on the top and bottom portions and then a perforated leather in the hand grip areas. It both looks and feels great in your hands. At the top of the rim, and much like the P1, there's a plastic display unit with a changing color rev stripe at the top and the 3-character front display that is both the tuning menu and the output from game if supported, like miles per hour or your gear indicator. Overall, the entire wheel rim weighs in at only 970 grams, making it very fast turning and the lightest wheel rim available from Fanatec. This also makes it 200 grams lighter than the P1 Xbox One rim. On the look side of things, there are a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences between this and the Xbox One counterpart. But internally, there are a bunch of new features packed into this CSL Elite wheelbase that actually separate it from any other wheels in the entire Fanatec lineup, including the CSL Elite for the Xbox One. This wheelbase was built with that exact same super fast 1000 Hz electronics that is found in the Club Sport 2.5 wheelbase. It's also built with the same brushless servo motor that goes with it and produces 6 Newton meters of torque at the drive shaft. It is connected to a different gearbox that sacrifices some of that torque in the name of being faster turning. The CSL Elite wheelbase also features up to 1080 degrees of rotation and a low friction single belt drive system with a direct sensor on the steering shaft for maximum accuracy. The mounting of the wheelbase at this point in time is very easy, and that's for 2 main reasons. Number 1, it's 2017, and virtually every sim racing chassis or rig you can buy has this drilling pattern on it, and if they don't, they probably shouldn't be in the rig building business. Number 2, the other reason it's very easy to mount is this is a very sturdy and very stout desk clamp mount that will work on any surface from as little as just under a ½ an inch or 1 centimeters thick all the way up to 2.3 inches or 6 centimeters thick. For my usage, I went with the hard mount, and that meant that I had to remove the feet on the bottom and then use 3 M5 bolts to hold it in place on my R seat. When installing the wheel rim to the base, it has an aligning point on the inside of the hub that keys its position onto the wheelbase's center shaft. Align the wheel and then push it on firmly all the way onto the steering shaft. You can then squeeze the metal clasp and use the supplied bolt to close the clasp and tighten the wheel onto the shaft. If using Fanatec pedals, you can then use the RJ45 wire that is supplied with the pedals and then plug that into the back of the wheelbase along with the power cord and the USB cable. And if you're using a PS4, you can just plug in the wheel and get to racing. However, this wheel is firmware updatable, but you're going to need a PC in order to do it. So even if you're using the PS4 and you want to update the wheel, you're going to have to plug it into the PC to do those updates and then go back to the PS4 with the wheel. If you're on the PC, you're going to want to take care of that right away. And to do that, you'll want to download the drivers from the Fanatec website and install them. You can then plug your wheel in and let Windows recognize it. You can then click on the Fanatec Wheel Properties page and double-click on the wheel. On the third tab is the one for checking your software and firmware version and for upgrading the software. You can then click on Update Firmware and then follow the on-screen instructions. Your wheel will then reboot and it will come back to life tilted to the left and with the flashing CAL on the center display. This is the wheel asking for new calibration, and you can fix this by clicking on the tuning menu button, then center the wheel and press the Options or OP button and the X button at the same time. Now your wheel is installed, updated, and has the latest firmware, and it's ready to be used on the PC or the PS4. Now the wheelbase does have mode options, and that's done with this button right here. You will know what mode you are in by the color of the power LED. Red equals PC, blue equals PS4, and purple equals compatibility mode for older PlayStation games. And prior to driving the wheel, I should probably cover the tuning menu that is exclusive to Fanatec wheels, and it can be done on the PC or the PS4 in-game, during game, at any moment. By operating the tuning menu, you want to press the tuning menu button on the wheel and then use joystick on the left-hand side of the wheel. The tuning menu allows you to save up to 5 different preset configurations. So if one game requires more force feedback and less degrees of rotation, you can save that as a tuning option on a preset. If a different game has a different requirement, you can change that to a different preset and save that one as well, so you can switch from game to game or sim to sim and have the wheel change that fast as well. Within the tuning menu, the options you have are sensitivity, force feedback, shock, ABS, drift, force, spring, and damper. With this wheelbase being PS4 compatible, I figured I'd start my testing out using the latest game, Dirt 4, and see what this wheel is made of. After all, rally racing really does test a wheel to its maximum. And during my testing, I used 2 different sets of pedals on the PS4. The CSL Elite pedals and the inverted Club Sport pedals, both directly plugged into the wheel and fully compatible with the PS4. With Dirt 4, you tend to have a very active wheel, perfect for testing the force feedback and other qualities of the CSL Elite. And when I first grab the wheel, it is the super soft leather that makes an impression on me. Despite being a reasonably priced wheel rim, it feels great in your hands. It feels of high quality, and it feels like a real racing wheel in size and texture. The movement of the wheel is very free. It's fast and it's smooth. With Dirt, you get a lot of vibration and small force feedback hits just as you go down a straight road. You could feel them all with the wheel, allowing you to make quick and small adjustments to control the car. When you hit a bump in the road, you feel it in the wheel. And if that bump causes your car any lateral movement or change in direction, you feel that extra strain or that lightening in the wheel that really lets you know what the car is doing. Again, it's fast, it's smooth, and it's very easy to detect the changes in friction of the force feedback. The wheel was so smooth and quick that it wasn't until after the event that it struck me how strong the wheel actually was. Even running on the console, which usually doesn't push my wheel to the same limits as PC games do. The wheel is strong, and if it had been any stronger, I would have actually turned it down just to be more in control. But I did find the power to be just right for rally racing in general. I want the car or the wheel to tell me when the wheels aren't turning and things are locked up. You're going to feel it in the wheel before you see it visually or hear it through the audio telling you that same information. When rally driving, we are using techniques such as the Scandinavian flick, turning the wheel slightly one way to then reverse the direction quickly to make the car turn at extreme angles. In this flick, we feel the car load up, we feel it release, and then the real art is to then be able to catch it again. The Fanatec CSL Elite is quick enough and delicate at the same time to allow this maneuver to be done with confidence. A testament to the feedback given back to the driver. Also somewhat unique to rally racing is the diversity of car types, including different driveline types. A front-wheel drive car not only handles, but feels entirely different than a rear-wheel drive car. and this wheel helps you feel that difference. The rear-wheel drive cars swing like a pendulum, with counter corrections being the fastest way to straighten out the car. The wheel delivers those pendulum feelings, and if you are sensitive, you can feel the moment you are turning your wheel beyond the amount needed to save the car. On the front-wheel drive cars, getting front-end grip out of the corners can be difficult. They inherently start to push or understeer on the throttle. The CSL Elite force feedback clues you into the moment this starts to happen, allowing you to back off the throttle a touch and complete the corner prior to driving off the track in a straight line. In the all-wheel drive cars, getting them to turn in for the corner can be quite difficult. They are stubborn and just don't want to turn in. And you feel that in the wheel also. You feel the front loading up and failing to turn. Again, allowing you to make adjustments to the brake pedal or wheel until the grip is found. On the console, I found that I really only needed a single button while driving, and then the paddle shifters obviously. The shifters, with their new snap technology, have a good feedback in your fingers, confirming the click or moment of shift. The paddles were also comfortable in my hands and fairly stiff, and there is enough tension on them to prevent accidental shifts. But the button that I needed was the square marked far right one. It was mapped by default to the handbrake, which is exactly the button I would have chose for myself. The button was well within reach while driving and was easy to operate. A button is an on and off switch, and when using it for the handbrake, going full on is a bit too much. And I found that I could click on the button very quickly and get more of a desired handbrake effect out of the game. I did also plug in the handbrake and did some driving with it on the PC, but it is just as compatible on the PS4. And when rally driving, there is no comparing using a handbrake versus a button. When it comes to a 180-degree turn, the handbrake can be as important as a gas pedal. And if my gas pedal was a button, then I might as well be using a hand controller. I'm not reviewing the handbrake here, but it was a good time to mention the pleasure of using one in rally driving, and it will plug directly into the wheel. You can also make adjustments to it in the menu, which can be very nice when switching games or sims. For Dirt 4 on the console, there was no support for the displays. However, that is coming from Fanatec and Codemasters soon. But when I switched over to Assetto Corsa, the entire dash panel came to life. It was automatic and it required no work on my behalf. This did enhance the driving, and to be honest, I was blown away to be seeing this while playing a console title. The wheel, just like with Dirt, was stronger than I expected for playing on the PS4 and delivered great force feedback. Now, after driving this wheel on the console for a long time, I can tell you it really did a great job of bringing Dirt 4 to life for me on the PS4. In fact, this is one of the strongest console wheels that I've ever tested. Now, when I switched over to the PC, I wanted to try some other sims. I wanted to try some of the other effects and features of this wheel that I was going to find in some games with more tuning options within them. And this is when I would get my first taste of the upper display and rev lights. Now, I've seen them before on my review of the CSL Elite for the Xbox, and it's pretty much identical here. The top rev stripe is a very cool novelty, and it can actually be used fairly well as a shift indicator, with it being a glaring reminder of the car's engine doing its work. The 3-digit display right below it is very small and can be very tough to read while on the fly. My display is showing gear indicator, something that I seldom need, but when I do, it's great to know exactly where to look to confirm the gear that you are in. The rev light bar or display that is on the top of the base is extremely useful. It is bright, it is clear, and it is unmistakable when it is all lit up and time to shift. With the brightness and clarity of the 3 dots of each color, your eyes can see them without even looking directly at them. From your peripheral view, you will see them bright enough to know when it is time to shift. When driving and focusing on the feeling of the wheel, again, the first thing that occurs to me is its smoothness. There is no feeling of friction, no feeling of cogging, or any notchy effects at all. The dead zone on the wheel is minimal or non-existent. The slightest movement of the wheel instantly changes the car's direction. Swerving the car back and forth, there is not even a hint of delay or lag between the wheel and sim. With smoother roads compared to rally driving, I could get sensation of how the center feel was on the wheel. How it felt the moment I went from running straight to turning into a corner. The wheel is fairly calm when running straight, with exception to any bumps or dips in the road. But when you turn in for corner entry, you feel resistance fighting you slightly and making you turn the wheel with intention. And just as quickly, you will feel the moment that you have turned the wheel too far and exceeded the tire's grip. The wheel started off light in the turn, then it went to heavy and then pushed through that to medium force when that grip was exceeded. This allowed me to very easily turn back out and find my traction point. The overall force feedback strength was quite strong as well. It isn't at the strength of a monster direct drive wheel, but its strength was more than I needed for everyday sim racing use. I'm only running it at about 10% in-game with plenty to spare, and it seems to be perfect amount for my racing needs. The CSL delivered that kind of strength all day long, and it felt like it would continue to do so for a very long time. Well within its limits, and again, more than I needed power-wise. With PC sims, we tend to use our buttons a little more often, and their layout, their proximity, their action are all important overall factors of the wheel. The layout on this wheel works very well while driving. The diamond shape on the right being different than the box shape on the left makes remembering the mapping that much easier. My right thumb could easily use 3 of the 4 buttons while driving without any thinking or added reach. On the left-hand side, I could easily access the 2 closer buttons and the joystick while driving. And then if more buttons were needed, they're just a slight twist of the hand away from operation and can be done on the straightaways without much effort. The buttons are plastic and have a bit more travel and resistance in their movement than just a PS4 controller, but don't have quite as much action on them when compared to a Formula Rim by Fanatec. So there are a few things that I didn't cover while driving this wheel that I do want to address or talk about during this review, one of them being the noise of the wheel. I often drive in headphones or with my speakers blaring, and I may or may not even hear a noisy wheel. But when I turn things down just to hear what this wheel sounds like while driving, I can tell you it's fairly quiet. And the fan on it isn't too noisy. The only noise I did hear from the wheel were the big hits of the force feedback. This could be from a collision or from hitting rumble strips, anything that's going to cause a big force feedback hit. But the vibration on this is more than the more solidly built Club Sport base. But it is more in vibration and an audible sound that you hear. I believe this stems mostly from the plastic base. It seems to work like a speaker box where it actually amplifies those sounds a lot louder than what you actually feel in the wheel. Now the other thing I didn't talk about in the driving aspect of this was the wheel flex, and that's because I didn't notice it while driving. This wheel is stronger than the P1, but still not as strong as the rest of the Club Sport wheel rims. And by that, I mean the flex that occurs when you pull up or down or left or right, twisting of the wheel, not turning like we do when sim racing. There's a bit of flex out of this wheel, and it seems that most of it happens at that clamping mechanism. This is not as strong as the quick-release metal-to-metal connection of the Club Sport wheel rims. And this wasn't a factor during normal use like driving, but it's something I did want to mention during the review. It's not as strong as, say, the other Fanatec high-end Club Sport wheel rims that you can put on it with that metal-to-metal connection. So as you can see and hear, I've done some extensive testing on this wheel. I wanted to give it a full shakedown, and I think you can already see where it performed and where it did fall short in some categories. But let's go ahead and break it down with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line starting off with the good, and that is, it comes in at a good price. It looks great. Built-in displays. Super lightweight wheel rim. Nice leather cover and blue stitching. Upgradable wheel rims, pedals, shifters, handbrake. Brushless motor. Good force feedback. Very smooth turning. Quick turning. PS4 and PC compatible. Tuning menu. On-the-fly adjustable. 5 profiles to save. Plenty of buttons. Hard mountable. good desk clamp. Xbox One compatible with the Xbox One wheel rim. And now onto the not so good. Such a wonderful wheel, but it still comes in a plastic case. Quick release is not quick. Slight flex in the wheel rim. Wheel noise over bumps a little loud. Wheel rim not sold separately. Currently not available outside of Europe and Australia. And now on to the bottom line. We have seen a steady price increase in wheels over the past decade. When I think back 10 years, I could go back and get a wheel for about 150 bucks, and it would deliver decent force feedback, but it would only last a matter of months. And honestly, I had a closet full of broken $150 wheels. Here we are today in 2017, and you can still buy a wheel for that price or slightly above, and it'll actually probably work better, but probably only last about the same amount of time. Then Logitech with the G25 really busted things wide open. They opened the floodgates with the G25 coming in at $299, which some sim racers weren't even willing to pay that much back in time. And then Thrustmaster and Fanatec, well, they broke things open to $500, and that changed sim racing forever. And then that really made it so these direct drive wheels could come in, and now the prices are getting into the thousands of dollars. But when you look at the quality difference, when you look at what you get for your money now versus even 10 years ago, even at $500, these wheels are incredible compared to what we used to use, and they give great force feedback, great reliability, and their styling is a way different level than it used to be. I think this wheel really does represent the new price point and the new standard in what a sim racing wheel should be. If you race all the time, you need a good wheel, and it's going to cost some money. This is the wolf in sheep's clothing, literally giving you most of what you get in a Club Sport V2.5, but it saves you some money. I think my biggest complaint to this wheel is the amount of flex in this particular wheel rim, but that's something that you can get rid of by upgrading to a different Club Sport wheel rim, and that gets me to another point. The upgradability even on the pedals. You can start off with the CSL pedals and work your way up to Club Sports later. Completely upgradable, and that also is something that we're seeing new both from Thrustmaster and from Fanatec, making it so you can get a starter package and continually build it up over time until you have a pro package. At the beginning, I did mention the add-on buttons, and these are the ones that Fanatec teased way back when, but there are two sets that you're dealing with. This set, which actually replaces the buttons on this wheel rim. So if instead of the triangle at the top right, we can pull that one out and replace it with one more appropriately labeled for driving games, such as windshield wipers. This does not change the mapping in-game, it's just a label for easy identification. The other set work on other Fanatec wheel rims, so if you would prefer to have PS4 looking buttons, you can place these caps over your existing buttons. A great idea from Fanatec. So at this point of time, I have tried this wheel in a whole bunch of different settings. I tried it in scenarios where I know the car and track combination so well, where everything is so predictable, and I can see how this wheel reacted compared to others. And then I tried it in unfamiliar ground, like dirt rally racing, where every moment is different, something you never saw every time, even on the same track, just the nature of racing in the mud. And I can tell you, each and every time this wheel performed, it really performed well. It was fun to drive. And I have to say that overall it exceeded my expectations. So I hope you've enjoyed this review of the CSL Elite wheel package. I hope that I've answered any questions, showed you everything you want to know, but as usual, if there's something I didn't, if I didn't cover everything about this wheel, I want to hear from you. My email is sean@thesimpit.com, and if you have any questions, anything I didn't cover, you send it to me and I'll be sure to answer your questions. This is The Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.